Okay. I believe that we are live, Denise Linn.
Hi,
Hi,
hello.
everybody. Hi. So we're live. So this is the fun part of technology, Denise. We are live in 8 different places at once. 8.
Oh my goodness. That is, technology is amazing. Kind of
Exactly.
scary at times, but amazing.
Oh, it's really fun. Well, this is the fun part of it. So if you're out there,
Mhm.
you're watching me, Liz Dawn, and the fabulous and amazing Denise Linn, please say hi to us. Put something in the comments. Oh,
Hi.
Rachel from Australia.
Where are you seeing the comments?
Ooh.
Oh, I
Okay,
have
so
to,
over
I see Rachel. Hey,
here.
Rachel, I got it. And
And Catherine
Catherine.
is here. Hi, Catherine.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Susan.
And
Selena.
my beautiful Susan. I was thinking about you. Was it today or yesterday? My days are all mixed up. Anyway, in the last 24 hours, and Marquisa went. I have to lift up. I have one of those ring lights. I have to lift it up to see the comments. So,
Oh, okay. And then Felicia's here, and Antonia, and Deborah, and Wendy, and Maris. I know I'm going to mess this up, but I'm going to try it. Maris Chris, and Laura, and Jessica, and Antonia. And my goodness, it's like romper room, Denise, right? Everybody, we hope that you're having a fabulous Tuesday. And of course, if you're in Australia, it's probably Wednesday. Michelle, you've been on my mind. I was thinking about you this morning, Michelle, and Kathy, and Cindy, and Tammy, and Deborah. And okay, I'm going to stop that because there's just too many people to keep up with. Hello, everyone. And I am here. Well, if you're on Denise's page, of course, you know Denise, and you probably don't know me. And if you're on any of my pages, you definitely know Denise, and you hopefully know who I am.
why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, so I am Liz Dawn, and I am the co-founder of a company called Mishka Productions, and we create what is known as Celebrate Your Life events. We've been doing this for 26 years now. We were grounded and sent to our room last year, so the only way we could do
Because of COVID. Wasn't something naughty you were doing in the night.
well, maybe it was something naughty I was doing tonight. Who knows, Denise, right? And so Denise has been one of our amazing speakers for many, many years. I'm always so blessed when she says yes. And so now we've been doing events virtually because it's even kind of more exciting doing that because you can kind of reach people all throughout the globe and everybody can participate and travel's not an issue. So that's what we've been doing. And Denise, the amazing Denise, has been with us for how many years now? At least like 13, maybe 12, something like that. And as you all know, Denise is a several times over best-selling author. And I always tell her that she's written a gazillion books, but it's probably closer to 19 or 20. Is that right?
That's right.
All right, translated into a gazillion different languages. Let's hear it for Denise Linn. And today we're talking about past lives and dreams. And it happens to be two of my favorite subjects.
Good. If you have questions, I can't see all the comments because of my ring light, but Liz can see them too. So as we're talking, if you have comments, let us know and we'll do what we can. So we are, Celebrate Your Life is sponsoring a workshop with me at the end of June where I'm going to be talking about past life and dreams and doing past life regressions, all from the comfort of your own home. You can get in bed and do past life regressions in your bed. I mean, there's so much horrific about the pandemic, but that's kind of a cool thing. So.
Right. You could be in your bedroom and you can go through regression with Denise. How fun is that?
Yeah, and I can wear my pajama bottoms and a nice top and still look.
You'll never know. She could have her bathing suit bottoms on and you'll never know.
I'm always worried I'll have to jump up and people will see what's below.
I know. So we're doing, you know what, let me go ahead and put the URL up for any of you that are interested in coming. It's going to be, and that's really, we wanted to talk more about. Is this the right one? I'm hoping I'm putting up the right one. Yeah. If you just go to our main page of our website at celebrateyourlife.com, there's more information there about the event. It's going to take place live virtually on June 26th and the 27th. It's going to be recorded. if you, Michelle says, or no bottoms at all. But let's talk about past lives.
I'm laughing because it's so hot. I wasn't going to wear anything on the bottom. And my husband, I said, honey, they'll never know. And he said, you probably at least should put panties on. I'm like, okay, you're right. Because if I have to jump up for any reason, but it was this close to not having panties on right now because it's so hot. So
just going commando, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my goddess.
Okay. And I'm not sure it's going to be recorded. So Liz, we haven't talked about that. So
okay.
Let's not promise. So it may or may not be recorded. So we will.
People miss parts of it. Okay. Yeah. So, but what I really want to talk about is past lives and why we're doing this. And I know for me, past lives is it's a huge passion of mine. And I just discovered that Denise and I just discovered this. I must have heard you talk about this before, but just kind of went over my head. But Denise had a past life in Nazi Germany, as did I. And so I would love to hear your story about it and why it was like prevalent for you to discover that. And
good. And then I'd love to tell people how I got into past lives, because I think how someone got to where they are often has value. But Liz and I, right before the this talk, I had read something that you wrote, I don't know, a couple of days ago, where you talked about having the past life that really changed your life. And it was this realization you'd had a past life in Nazi Germany. And I thought that is so interesting, because in my past life explorations, one of the past lives I discovered was having died in, and I'm assuming it's Auschwitz. There was a concentration camp, and to my mind, I think it was Auschwitz, but I don't know that for sure. But I do remember very specifically being there. And that life has been so pivotal in this life. And I wrote a book called Past Life, Present Dreams. And I wrote about that life. And I wrote about how I had this almost a hatred when I would see shiny black boots. And I had that before I realized the past life. And it was this, and I wrote this in the book about when I would see shiny black boots, I would feel nauseous. It would feel like all my strength would just drop out of my body. And I couldn't even look at them. So I got a letter from a rabbi who wrote a book. Have you heard of this book called From Ashes to Healing?
Yes, yes.
And so Reverend Gershwin, Rabbi, yeah, what did I say?
Reverend.
Yeah, Rabbi. Yeah, but he said that he said a lot of Jewish people who died in concentration camps have incarnated back. And he works with them because he found that they had continuing trauma from that time, which actually there's a lot of science about trauma traveling through the genes so it makes sense from a scientific point of view. And he said one of the things that he found was they had an abhorrence or a challenge with shiny black boots. And I thought that was so interesting about this whole thing about shiny black boots. And you'd said something about black boots. Do you remember?
And it's so weird. I just emailed that to you the other day. And I said, this is so important to me because, I mean, I had to give away these gorgeous pair of black that looked like English riding boots because I had to give them to my niece, who's the same shoe size, because I could not wear them.
Well, I'm happy to tell you, I've actually, as I worked through that life, and one of the reasons that I love working with people in past lives is because sometimes, now that's just not liking black boots. That's not going to stop you from going forward. That's not going to stop you from achieving your dreams or having great relationships. But there are some things that do. But I'm happy to tell you that I worked through that particular life, and I've got shiny black boots, and I like wearing them. So it is possible. Now, too bad you've given them away. It's possible to let that go. But so many of the things that we really like or really dislike, and especially when we have no reason to understand why do I like that or why do I dislike that. Sometimes it's early childhood, sometimes it's genetic programming or the ancestral syndrome, but sometimes it's a past life. And I just thought that's so interesting. You said that you were a little German boy. I'm pretty sure I was Polish.
I was definitely Germany, and I was probably around somewhere between 18 and 20 years old, somewhere between like that time, 18, 19, 20 years old. And So mine was a little bit different. Me as Liz, I was 19 at the time, and I was really struggling in college, and I decided to go home for the weekend. I was having a really hard time, and I was having nightmares again. I used to have nightmares when I was a kid, like blood-curdling, screaming nightmares. My mother would come racing in, hold
Wow.
me, are you okay? Are you okay? But as Liz, when I came into this lifetime, when I was a little girl, I used to have my nose cauterized all the time because my nose would bleed just randomly, just blood, gushingly bleed. And then when I was about 5 years old, they discovered this thing that happened on my chest. I had an unfinished lung and it got infected. And so it grew into this big mass. And they were like, what's going on? And they called it an unfinished lung, right? That it was unfinished. So had to have all that taken out. So fast forward to 19 years old, I'm having these dreams again, these nightmares, and I'm having a hard time in college. And my mom said, well, why don't we do a past life regression? And I was like, Mom, I don't believe in reincarnation. I'm 19. And she's really
Yeah.
woo-woo, and I'm not. This is
Right,
like,
right.
the 80s, right? I'm like,
Right.
no, late 70s, right? And so I went home for the weekend, and she had her friend there who did past life regression. She was trained. She was a hypnotherapist that was trained specifically to do this. And I said, okay, fine. It was like this, like that, right? Teenagers do that. Well, we did it, and I, boom, dropped right into this lifetime. And prior to that, I remember being in high school, and I was in a new high school at the time, and this other kid in the class was talking about Nazi Germany and how he kind of understood the political stance that Hitler was taking. Well, I went ballistic. And my friend Kay Kirby, who I know still today in this life, like now, she was in that English class, and she remembers me going ballistic. And I always had like a hard time putting a mezuzah up at my front door, and identifying, like, even though I was brought up very religious as a Jewish woman in this lifetime. And so when I did that past life regression, it all made sense. And I saw how I passed in that lifetime. I was protecting an older man, a rabbi, and they had taken me from my family, and I was in Nazi Germany, and I was in the concentration camp. And I was protecting this rabbi, and I was shot in the nose, and he stomped on my chest with a boot and shot me in the nose. And when I came out of the regression, and I am sobbing through this regression, and I was such a virgin with all of this kind of stuff, right? And it was just so profoundly healing.
Yeah.
Because the nightmare stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I have a mezuzah on my front door, right? I still get charged about anti-Semitism, but not to the degree that, I used to. So for me, it was such a profoundly healing event that I began studying about it. And of course, I've been in the room with you many times when you've done past life regressions. And I've seen other lifetimes as a dancer in Egypt. It's like cool things. But that one was transformative for me.
I was a dancer in the Middle East.
Were you really?
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know that about you. You probably didn't know that about me. It was like, for me, dancing was about connecting to God and the Creator, and there was a troupe of us, but I was a woman, there was a man leading the troupe, and his idea was, how can we make some money? How can we get, and his was very businesslike, and I didn't like that. I just wanted it to be about the Creator and movement, and it was a schism between someone who's like, yeah, you've got to do it this way, you've got to make people happy, and I'm thinking, I don't care about people, I just want to dance for God. How interesting.
And that's interesting because I never knew that.
Yeah.
And with all these, I would see these movements like this with the beautiful scarves.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was I was
me when I was in regression with you. I love that.
So this is also a really fun thing about regression is there will be so many ahas. People Well, if you talk, if you're in this court here, okay, when I've been doing live events, I'm one of the few people in the world who successfully regresses up to 3,000 people at a time. Almost always people sitting next to each other or people who come as friends will remember the same life. And they haven't talked to each other. They just do the regression. They come out and they talk about it. It's like, oh my God, that was, And sometimes I remember one time a woman said, I was in a park in England and I was pushing this really old fashioned wooden wheelchair. The woman next to her said, oh my God, I was in a park in England and I was sitting in an old fashioned wooden wheelchair and someone was pushing me. There's those kind of things. It's like we find each other. So
yes, did you see what Liz Beth just wrote?
I can't. You'll have to read it to me because I can't.
Wow. She says, I have had similar experiences, Liz. Bloody noses. I had a past life as a young Jewish boy who was being hidden in someone's basement. I remember the panic and terror at the thought of being caught. And I also was shot in the face.
Well, there were a lot of people that died in the concentration camps during Nazi Germany. And that's why this book by this rabbi, he wrote From Ashes to Healing, and two books about it because so many people died. And, and he believed we're coming back. And I didn't know that reincarnation was part of the Jewish faith. So I was so surprised to get this letter from him about his work with those people.
Oh my gosh. Oh yes, share your past lives. Please share them in the comments. Susan is saying she's seen many of hers. She's hoping to take the class. I used to be terrified of muddy rivers. I drowned in one in a stagecoach. Another one, I was a medicine woman. I remember being in a tent with an elderly man using herbs with him. Wow. And so how does this, so my question to you is, Denise. Yeah,
I want to explain the background because when I listen to someone talking about something, I always like to know, how did you get there? So I want to explain that and explain why I think it's so valuable to do past life work. If that's okay, could I?
Please, yes.
Okay. So I never, ever thought when I was young that I would be interested or even believing in past lives. My parents were scientists and I wanted to be a scientist. And I've just done a program with my brother who's an astrophysicist and it was really great. We both were presenting. So that was my forte. I had a very dramatic near-death experience that changed the way I viewed the world. And I began to, and it also activated the healing ability within me. And I began to work as a healer, which was great. And I was one of those, you put your hands on the person, they're healed. And there was a point when I was scheduled a year in advance, because of course you like to go to someone who puts their hands on you and you're healed, and the spontaneous healing. I thought, man, this is great. This is a gift from God. But every once in a while, someone would come back and say, I don't understand it. It was gone. And now 6 months later, it's back. And I thought, well, how could it be back? And I got really still. And I thought, it's kind of like dandelions. You mow them over, but if you don't get to the root, they're going to pop up again. You mow them, they pop up again. So I thought, I bet some of these challenges that people come from beliefs that they had in early childhood. So I began to regress people back into early childhood, which was amazing. People were getting phenomenal results. And then I had an experience, actually a couple of very similar experiences. I'm regressing a woman back. She was someone who had ulcers and some really serious stomach issues, and she'd been to everybody and nothing was working. So I'm thinking I'm taking her back to childhood. And she says, I'm being poisoned by my husband's enemies. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's never been married. And I couldn't figure out, she's never been married and she's being poisoned by her husband's enemies. And she went on to explain that her husband had very unpopular political beliefs. She didn't agree with them, but she felt helpless as a woman in that life. She felt like she had no personal power. And he left. He was, out of town or on business. And his enemies came into the house and they forced her to drink poison, which ate holes in her stomach and killed her. Well, in this life, she was feeling powerless in a lot of situations in her life. And it activated the same challenge that she had in that life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This feeling, there was a behavioral conditioned response. Helplessness, ulcers, holes in stomachs. So that was my first foray into past lives. And then in the beginning, I didn't even know if I believed it, but I was calling them soul dramas. People would go into these soul dramas and I would have them change them
Mhm.
because it's almost like when you see something like that, it's like a tape loop and it gets dug in deeper and deeper. Now, I believe that the past is malleable. People say, well, the future is malleable. I believe that you literally can change the past. And people who don't believe that, well, you can't change the past. Well, I think of the theory of relativity, and I think, there are some theories that actually, time's a function of gravity, but it doesn't matter because where does the past dwell? It dwells in your memories. And science has proved that our memories are changing all the time.
Right.
It's not like you have a memory and it's carved in stone forever. It's not. Everything's shifting and changing. And as you can shift the memory, you shift the belief. As you shift the belief, you literally transform your life. So I began to take people back into past life regressions to find the source, the root of whatever the challenge was, and then change it. And it was amazing. I've taught in 25 countries. Most of those countries I've done past life regressions. That's what I'm mostly known for around the world. Not in the United States so much, but mostly around the world. And the reason why I kept doing past life regressions is phenomenal, amazing, incredible results happen to people. You don't need to suffer to grow. You can just literally close your eyes, take a journey. It seems like it's in your imagination, and everything changes. Everything. It's so cool. I just love it.
I know,
And
I too.
so that's why I continue to work with past lives. So out of that, I began to work one-on-one. Then I began to do, workshops for 30 and 40, 50 people. And eventually I was working with hundreds of people and eventually thousands of people. And the results over and over again have been amazing. Now, I have never done an online past life regression workshop. This will be the first time. But in some ways, it can be even more powerful because you're in the comfort of your own home. I'm going to have some suggestions for the people who take it because you want to shift a few things in your home. Your home also is valuable because you can be comfortable, but also it has embedded your beliefs within it. The ideas about who you are and what you deserve in life are kind of embedded in the feng shui in your home. So there's a few things I'm going to suggest everybody does beforehand to create the optimum environment, to literally go inside, to begin to look at what are those things in your life that are not working that you'd like to shift or change or that have been patterns for a long time. And it could be that there's a source and you go to the source, you shift it, and everything changes. So I love it. So this is an experiment. My sense is it's going to be powerful, but this will be, I don't know, an adventure.
I'm so excited. Because when you were talking about and there's the URL, everybody, for you to go to. So the event is on June 26th through the 27th. It's going to be a live virtual experience. And Denise is going to do past life regressions. We're going to talk about dreams, but there's the website to sign up. The price does increase in a couple of weeks. So you definitely want to get in on it now. And it's a really, really great price. But the URL is celebrateyourlife.com. So I'm really intrigued about, so the woman with the ulcers, have you seen actual physical issues that people have?
Yeah, I have. And I kind of hesitate. I mean, I'll tell you some of the more dramatic things I've seen because it doesn't happen for everyone. So if, someone who says, oh, it's so amazing, you'll be healed. I don't know. Here's the thing. Every challenge we have allows us to learn and grow. And some of the challenges, they hang out because we're learning and growing. But I was doing past life regressions in South Africa, and a woman came who her friend brought her actually because she had a tumor that was pushing on her optic nerves and she couldn't see. And the thing that made her really sad was she couldn't drive. She says, I've lost my freedom. And I think she had a tiny bit of sight, but it was just, she was losing her sight. And literally after the regression, part of me thinks, well, how could this happen? But she began to see. And then in a few days, she literally got her eyesight back. She went to the doctor, and as doctors do, well, we don't understand it, but it's probably going to come back. But she wrote to me a few years later and said, I can still see. So that was pretty dramatic. When I was teaching in London, there was a woman who'd had hearing aids, 2 hearing aids for 52 years. during the past life regression, and this was at the Royal Horticultural Hall, for those of you who are in London, you know where I was teaching this course. And all of a sudden, she said it sounded like they were both malfunctioning. I guess if you have a hearing aid and it malfunctions, it makes like everything gets loud or something. But she said they were both malfunctioning at exactly the same time. And I saw her a few years later at another course I was doing at the Porchester Hall in London. And she said, Denise, I can hear. After 52 years with hearing aids, I no longer need my hearing aids. But it's not just physical. I mean, it's very dramatic with physical things. But I remember I was teaching in Florida, and a guy from Australia showed up, and he said, I've flown here and I was a very short past life. I mean, it was like just a couple hours. He says, I flew from Australia just for this. And I said, no, there's other things you're going to do here in Florida, Disneyland. He goes, nope, I flew here just for this past life regression with you. And I said, well, why would you do that? I mean, that's a lot of money, a lot of time. He said, a few years ago, I was having a lot of challenges with my family, and I had a horrible relationship with my sister and a really bad relationship with my family. He said, I came to your past life workshop. I did a regression, and in that I understood it, but it also healed it. And he said, I've had a great relationship with my family since that regression. He said, I got some other issues I want to work on. So sometimes it's relationships. Sometimes it's, someone who starts to get ahead financially and they sabotage themselves. It could be that they took vows of poverty. You have to watch out for those vows you take. So there's a lot of reasons why it's valuable to do past life regressions. Again, it doesn't work for it. It works, but it doesn't work in the way that everyone expects. So someone, has the expectation, I'm going to heal this. It doesn't heal, but something else in your life, your relationship with your son changes, or, the spirit works in mysterious ways. So.
Oh, I am so excited. I can't wait for this because I want to do another past life regression. We haven't done this since 2019.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And we've got some great comments here of everyone that's sharing. Michelle is sharing. I had one where I was a shaman type person in a Polynesian culture. There was another man there who was envious and jealous and caused her death by smashing a rock on her right shoulder. I know. And she fell into a waterfall and drowned. She's always been terrified of drowning despite being a good swimmer. Wow. And she also, during her regression, discovered that man is a family member in this lifetime. Interesting. And when she went through the regression, she felt an intense pain in her shoulder. I don't know. I think it's one of the most fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Because it really, like, unexplained phobias, unexplained passions for things, or times when you feel like I mean, this has happened to me so many times in my life where I have met someone and I feel like I've known them for lifetimes.
Yeah, and there's two things that can be. One thing, it can be like that feeling of deja vu. Can be that your mind sees it a split second before you actually see it, so it feels like you've been there before. That's what the scientists will say, and that can be accurate. But it can also be an echo from another time and another place. And I think it's good to be open to everything, open to what the scientists say. I guess I've just come off this program with my brother. Open to what the scientists say, open to what what the metaphysicians say.
Well, but I think your best barometer is what feels right in your own intuition,
true.
your own guidance.
Yeah.
So I know that for me, when I've done this before, and especially during that first past life regression I ever had, because I just remember that first past life regression. I think, oh no, I'm making, there was that tendency to think, oh, I'm making this up, but it was so real.
Yeah.
And everything was so vivid. And then subsequent past life regressions as well, just so, especially the dancing one, which I think is a riot that you've had a dancing one too.
And here's the thing, we're making all of it up. If you got 20 people together and they see the same event, everyone sees a different event. I mean, there's lots of examples of this. We're always making it up with our beliefs and our story as our filter for filtering life. And in the beginning, it does feel like you're making it up, but that's how you get there. Your imagination is the key to the past. And people say, like, this can't be real. This can't. And I tell you, I'll tell this story in the workshop because it's so dramatic. But there was a woman I was teaching in Australia, and she was having all kinds of challenges. She wasn't able to get in a relationship. And she was at that point in her life. She wasn't young. It was like, what's going on? I never can seem to get in a relationship. None really fit my expectations. And so she wanted to see if past lives could help her. And she came out and she was like shocked. She goes, oh my God, I saw a past life, and it was right here in Australia, Melbourne. And she saw that she was in love with a man, and he was in love with her. They never consummated their marriage because he was married, and his wife had a lingering illness, and he wasn't going to leave his wife. So they communicated through love letters. But she said, I think I know where that house is. So she told me this later. She drove around that area and she found the house, and she was so scared, and she's sitting outside the house like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And finally she gets the courage. She goes up, she knocks on the door, and the door opens, and it's the guy, but he's older. And she said she just blurted it all out. And he didn't say much, invited her in. His wife had long since died. He didn't remarry. And she died young in that life. And he took her over. So this was a quick turnaround. And sometimes we have those quick turnarounds. Took her over to a desk, opened the desk, and the false bottom were all of her letters. And she said, we tried to make a go of it, but he was kind of like old. But also what was great is she realized it never would have worked. Their personality, so here it was this unrequited love, but the truth was it would have never worked. And when she had that realization, that pattern that she had of, that unrequited love in this life, she was able to drop it and get into a very wholesome, full-on relationship that probably wouldn't have happened if she wouldn't have gone through that experience.
I love that story.
It's a good story.
Well, because it also, what you're sharing is that there's things that really could hold us back that we don't even know about, that we're struggling with. Because I teach about the dating.
Yeah.
Right. And there's actually a couple of women in the class that struggle with getting into relationships, and they're doing everything right. And I've coached them. They do everything right. They're meeting all the right people. And I'm going to encourage them to take the class because I'm just wondering if has nothing to do with this lifetime.
Well, okay. So someone came to me who every time he tried to get ahead financially, he would literally sabotage it. And he could look and see how he had sabotaged it. Mm-hmm. And in his regression, he had started to get ahead financially in his village, and people in the village were kind of jealous. And he kind of died. And so subconsciously, it's like, if I get ahead financially, I will die. Mm-hmm. So of course you're going to sabotage it because you don't want to get ahead, because subconsciously you don't want to die. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it could be maybe someone was in a relationship and everything was perfect, and then it went south really fast. So subconsciously, marriage equals pain. I'm going to make sure I can't go in a marriage. So that's kind of how it works. The way I work with past lives, past life journeying should be fun. It should be easy. It should be fun. So I love working in a way that's easy and fun and creates results. So that's really important to me.
So Michelle is asking, how do you know you may have a blockage because of a past life?
Okay. The only way you can discover that is if you actually do, well, there's two ways. One is to do a regression. You think about what the blockage is. And I used to, when I had a private practice, I would suggest people try everything else first, because sometimes it's office politics. Sometimes it's your grandmother's belief that she instilled in you when you were little. There can be so many reasons for that blockage. Sometimes it's our religion, our culture, our upbringing, our childhood experiences. But if you've exhausted everything and that blockage is still there, it could very well have a past life source. So you can go on a past life regression. But you can also, I have a book called Past Life, Present Dreams. And in the book, I have a really extensive questionnaire. And when you go through that questionnaire, it starts to give you clues. You could become like a past life detective. And so some people say, I don't want to be regressed. That's fine. You don't have to be regressed. You can go through it and you can use your mind to start getting an understanding. To me, it's not as visceral as actually doing a past life regression, but some people that's not their path. So you can go through it and say, hey, this could be interesting as you begin to explore with your mind what that past life might have been. So
I love that. Okay, now Anne has a question. Can past lives be manifest in your current physical body? Can they be manifested in your current physical body? So like the thing with the chest thing, like you can see my scar up here, that lung surgery. Yeah.
I over and over and over again, I've seen people who had past life trauma to their body that manifests. And things to look at are birthmarks. Things to look at are chronic things that are chronic where there's no reason for it, like you and your nose bleeding, and that was chronic.
Yeah.
And your chest and so yeah, it definitely can manifest in your physical body.
I'm excited. So once again, I just want to share with you that Denise is presenting a live virtual workshop on June 26th through the 27th. And all the information's on the website. Just go ahead and jump on the website. If you go to celebrateyourlife.com, you will see on the homepage, just scroll down the homepage and you'll see past lives. Just click on that link. And you have all the information about the event. It's going to be so fantastic and fabulous and amazing, and all kinds of great questions are going to be answered. And we have some more questions. Can I ask you some more questions?
Sure.
Okay. Have you ever tried regressing someone in between lives to get a glimpse into the spirit world?
Yes, I always do that.
I love
because
that.
when you go back into the past life, I always, almost always, I'd say mostly, have people complete that life and then go into the spirit world, and they can kind of review that life from their perspective of the spirit world. What did I learn? What did I gain? What were the forces at play? What was the value of that life? And I think that's really important. The other reason I take people into the spirit world is we tend to think this is who I am. We identify with the body and with our life. And then when you leave the body, go to the spirit world, it's like, you know what? I am infinite, immortal, eternal, and universal. I had a body. I had a life. I learned. I grew. And it wasn't who I was. It was like sometimes I think of like a mirror ball, the mirror ball they have for the old fashioned dances. And if this mirror ball were inside a perfectly circular room, you would see the reflections, and the reflections are moving. You can see a reflection. It's like our lives are like that reflection, but who we are is the mirror ball. And there's all these reflections. See, I think they're all occurring now, but so all the reflections are there. But if you were on one of those reflections, like little tiny, you can see, well, it's moving. Well, there's the future in front of me. There's the past behind me. But literally, they're all reflecting at the same time from the same source, which is to be spirit. So that's the way I look at it.
I love that. Okay. Oh, yeah. And Colleen is saying, yes, she's already signed up. Birthmarks. Tell me more about that. Well, she just shared more about that. That's very cool.
So sometimes you have to just look at where in your body that birthmark is, what it looks like, and then you could actually use that birthmark as a touchstone to journey into a past life. What might have made a mark like that? What associations could there be? Do you have the emotions associated with that birthmark? There's a whole process just around birthmarks and so many other things.
I'm so excited for this workshop. Okay, then Barbara is asking, oh, interesting. Did a past life have something to do with me getting shot? That's interesting.
With me getting shot?
Either one getting shot.
Wait, did she get shot?
No, she's asking, did it have did our past life in Nazi Germany have something to do with a past life before that? I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh, do you know, it's often, I used to say there's only 200 of us, and I don't say that anymore because a man came up to me in a seminar, meaning that we tend to have our soul groups and we will come back again and again with different roles. And a guy came up and he was literally in tears. I said, what's wrong? He goes, I'm worried. I said, well, tell me, what are you worried about? And he goes, I'm worried I'm not one of the 200. I'm like, oh my God. So it was just like a metaphor, but so often you'll find that, in that past life workshop, in that past life, there was Well, I'll take you a step back. I'd hired someone. You just had a aha. I hired someone to work for me as a personal assistant, and she used to wear these shiny black boots, which, just like I said, it made me nauseous. I couldn't even look at them. And those, I'm not so nice now. I was so nice. I wasn't going to say anything, but I really had problems with those shiny black boots. And as I began to explore my past life in the concentration camp, I said, just out of curiosity, I didn't know her very well, just out of curiosity, do you have any, I'm exploring my past lives. Do you have any relationship with Nazi Germany or Hitler? And she goes, oh my gosh, I read Mein Kampf 9 times. Who reads Mein Kampf 9 times?
Oh.
And she goes, oh yeah, I was a prison guard at Auschwitz. But she said, I was a good prison guard. And I'm thinking, alrighty then. No wonder you're in my life. No wonder I'm having some challenges here. And I remembered we were always like, yes, you're a good guard. You are such a good guard. Because, that's a guard. You don't want to say anything bad to the guard. And we're still friends today, but it was, so we kind of take different roles.
That's so interesting. So Barb is asking, and I can't believe you and I didn't think about this, is when you got shot in this lifetime.
Yeah, that actually didn't relate to the Nazi Germany. I did find a past life connection, and it was in China or in Asia. It seemed like China to me. And it's funny, in this life, for the guy for people who don't know, when I was 17, I got shot by someone I didn't know, a guy, serial killer. I was the only person who lived, killed a bunch of people. But so I wanted to see, well, what was the connection there? What was strange is when he was aiming the gun at me. Now, he had a little motorbike. He ran into my motorbike, and then he turned around and came back and he shot me. But he rolled the window down, held out the gun. And I remember this thought, when you go through traumatic situations, everything goes slow. I'm thinking, if you're going to kill me, you're aiming too low. Now, I'm 17. I'm my little moped, minding my own business, just taking a little country ride. And I have this thought, if you want to kill me, you're aiming too low. But for him, it was no big deal. It was like, one more woman I'm going to kill. But for me, it was a huge big deal. Well, this past life in China, the houses were up on stilts. And what I remember, I don't know, I didn't do any historical research, but I remember there was a place where the human waste, we put it down through a hole into a container. And every day there was a guy who was like an untouchable kind of guy. He would come around and pick up all the waste. And none of us were very kind to him at all. And it was a horrible life for him. And for us, it was no big deal not being kind to this guy. For him, it was huge. He would be underneath the house and he could hear people having these regular, joyous, happy, comforting lives, and he didn't. And as soon as I never really had any anger, any resentment, any bitterness. This guy, I lost my kidney, I lost my spleen, I lost my adrenaline gland, good part of my lung, there's a hole in my spine. A lot of damage was done. You would think I'd be resentful.
Right.
He ripped that away from you, and so much else was taken from me in that moment. But I never felt that. And I believe it's because of that thought, if you want to kill me, you better aim a little higher. that thought came from that past life. So that's a long answer to your question. What was your revelation?
That was the revelation when she put that two together, when she said, do you think has something to do with the past life, you getting shot?
But it's actually a past life, but it doesn't feel like it had anything to do with that life in Nazi Germany.
Wow. So interesting. And Marilyn is sharing Nazi Germany. How many? I know. This is so interesting. She was a child and died in Treblinka.
But she was Polish too. I don't know for sure. I was Polish, but I feel like I was.
Yeah, and felt he failed to protect me. The marriage failed but we are close friends like family.
Wow.
So interesting.
I know Marilyn too. She's Australian. I love Marilyn. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, Alicia's sharing. I'm super excited about this workshop. I have 5 lies that for some reason I saved to work on in this lifetime. Needless to say, it's been a lot of work. I've come a long way, but I think this workshop could help me push to the next level. You know, what was so interesting is when you were talking about the healing thing, when you talk about the woman with the ulcers. So there's a couple of things that, you know, I've like chronic stuff that goes on. And I was thinking, God, I wonder if I need to hold that intention and the airplane thing, you know, me with the airplane thing.
Yeah, I do know you with the airplane.
Hold that. Although I do think that's from this lifetime.
I think so too.
Oops, somebody put, oh, that's interesting. Who put that up there? Did you put that up there? Oh, but we have Bill Bomania's asking, oops, I don't know what's happening here.
I don't know if everybody can see it. There's all these
not
images.
doing that. Do past life regressions work better during the live than watching replays? I would think they would be better live. And
as a rule, I never like any of my past life workshops to be recorded. Because, and that's why I kind of stopped you, because there is an energy in that moment that, and I know it's, you know, throughout my life, people have been really, because I've been doing past life regression for so long, they say, I want to record it. The energy for me isn't there.
Right.
For me, it's in that moment. And maybe I've changed my mind about a lot of things, but it's not the same when you do it, when it's not live. So,
right. Well, the only reason I thought about it is because people are overseas and might not be able to make the time, and give them a little bit time to catch up.
Okay, well, let's talk about it, because you know I'm open to change, because I talk about like let's change. Yeah.
I know.
But in my past experience, I always wanted it to be for those people, because I often will do a meditation I only do once in a lifetime, and it's for those people, for that energy and that moment. So.
Right. Well, we have a question here. So Monique is asking, during the weekend, is there more than one regression?
Yes.
Yes. We'll do many. Okay.
Well, I don't say many, but we will definitely do more. I always like to keep my word. Yes, we will definitely do more than one.
And the workshop, somebody's asking when it is. It's on June 26th and 27th. That's a Saturday and Sunday. So it's an all-day Saturday and half-day on Sunday. And that'll be virtual. It'll be here online.
And there will be things you'll need to be prepared for it. So we'll send you out. I haven't talked to you about this, Liz, but there are some things they will need to, well, they don't have to, but there's a lot of things I have suggestions for them to do before, to put them in the optimum place to get results. So
perfect. And Connie is asking, hello, you two lovelies. Do you think weight?
What?
Do you think weight, body weight?
Yes. Okay. A lot of people I am overweight, so I am not a good advertisement. And I've had a lot of people say they were able to drop weight because, they starved to death in a past life, or, for various reasons, or in a past life, the people who were big were the wealthy people, skinny were the poor people, lots of things. But listen, I'm overweight, so I'm not an advertisement for that, but some people have gotten good results with that.
Yeah, I think anything could. Okay. Oh, so here's a good one. Susan is asking, our lovely Susan Torres, do you believe we come back together to finish a relationship? My former husband and I had a past life regression and found that we had been siblings. After 20 years, we parted. After 20 years, we parted with a sibling relationship. I think what she's saying is that can you have a present time relationship just to come up and come into this lifetime, finish it up, and then be done with it?
Yeah, well, you could. We are all connected forever. So I don't know it's so much finish it up, but maybe there were some issues that were unresolved from a past life. And maybe by getting together, you resolve those. I do have an exception, though, because some people say, I'm in this relationship. I really don't like it, but karmically, I have to stay to work it out. I don't think you have to. You don't have to suffer to grow. And find joy where you can. And if this relationship isn't working, don't feel like you have to stay in a non-joyous relationship to work karmically something out. Just live life with joy. And if you aren't having joy in your life, you don't have to stay. And if it's a really big deal, guess what? You'll both incarnate again together and you'll get back together again. So
Okay, I have a really,
like,
really
I
good
never want to be
story.
with him again, ever. So
I have a really good story about this. So my mom, and then okay, wait, let's answer some more questions and then I have a story.
no, let's hear
Um,
your story. Tell
so
your story.
Ron says maybe rewatching a past life replay is like rereading a book again and seeing new stuff and insights.
Yes. Oh, that's a great comment. Absolutely.
And Mary Lynn says, please record because time zones are all different, so I don't want to miss bits when it's sleep time. That's so great.
Well, maybe there's, let me think. Yeah,
Talk
maybe there's a way it can be in a very limited period of time, like, 48 hours we'll
Yeah,
talk
no,
about that.
that's what we would do. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we've been doing with our stuff.
But I still
Okay,
recorded. I'm not sure.
Bilbiomania. Please help. Is there a reverse meditation to fix a bad energy we might get from a past life? I need to reverse poverty energy I got from a past life. Great
Absolutely.
question.
Okay. I'm not the poster child for weight, but I am the poster child for abundance. My family really didn't have a lot of money. We lived in abandoned army barracks. After World War II, we were pretty much crashing in my dad's. There are these long, lots of units. They're called barracks. Anyway, he took a sledgehammered holes. They're just holes. They weren't doors. Holes between the whole army barrack line, and that's where we lived. When my parents were living in a renovated chicken coop when I was born, I can remember times when we didn't have enough food. I got called in high school. I got called in. I was a cheerleader and I was a class officer, and I got called into the principal's office because they said if I was representing the school, I need to have better clothes. Well, I had used clothes that relatives would send, and it was so embarrassing. And then for one of the school dances, the teachers got together and donated money so I could have a dress. And my mother was so angry. So I was raised with the idea that money was bad, knowledge was good because they were scientists, and I was dyslexic, so I thought, well, I thought I was dumb, so I'm dumb and we don't have any money. But when I got older,
Dumb and you don't have money.
And I had this thing where anytime anyone would give me anything, I would get anxious until I gave it away, and people would get upset, like for presents, for birthdays or Christmas. They said, I can't give you anything because you give it away. And what I didn't tell them is I would have this anxiety, and it would fill me. And when I gave it away, the anxiety would leave. So one day, David said, my husband, I was married, and he said, we cannot keep living like this. I mean, some people had come to the door. We were in San Francisco, and they said, oh, do you have anything? Well, I had a couple of pans. They were our only pans. We had like 2 plates. We had a pad on the floor. And he said, you gave our pans away? And I go, well, they wanted something. He goes, we have no pans now. We have this pad on the floor. And he said, you have to change this pattern. You have to. So I closed my eyes and I went deep inside, and I saw past life after past life where I had taken vows of poverty again and again and again. A monk, a nun, a renunciate, again and again. It was this not just a pattern from one life, from lifetimes. So I went to every single life and I took a vow, and I relinquished the vow of poverty because you can change. And I took a vow of abundance. From that point forward, our lives got so abundant. And I have to say, I am really abundant now. I do not need to work, which is great. I never, ever imagined growing up I would ever be in a place where I don't need. I work because it gives me joy. I work because it seems to make a difference in some people's lives. But I don't work because I need it. And it came from past life regression. So I'm not the poster child for weight loss by a long shot, but I am the poster child for abundance.
So what happened was that, so you went back and you saw the poverty and then you.
No, it wasn't necessarily poverty. It was making a choice. It was taking a vow of poverty. So I went back. Okay, so I was a Franciscan monk in a little tiny island off the coast of Venice. And I took my vow of poverty very seriously. So I went back and I just kind of told myself, the monk, the Franciscan monk, you are relinquished of your vow of poverty. You are now taking a vow of abundance. I shifted it, and I teach people how to shift the past. Literally, it is possible to do that, and it can work.
Are we going to do that during the workshop?
Well, did I lose you? There we go. I'm very spontaneous with the workshops I do. It's like whoever shows up, it feels like we create a kind of a collective, a weaving of energy, and then out of that comes the processes we do. So you're like, I want to do the abundance one.
How many of you want to do that? Okay, right. Say yes. Say I. Yes. How many of you want to do that during the weekend workshop? Yes.
All right.
Liz,
we have kept people almost an hour. This is a really long thing. Anyway, just everyone, it's been fun. Thank you, Liz. It's been joyous being here. Thank you guys for joining us. Yes. And I look forward to seeing whoever shows up. I look forward to seeing you at our online past life workshop and dreams too. My very first book was about dreams. I'm passionate about dreams. Your past lives can show up in your dreams, but you'll be learning all about
yes. Dreams. All right, everybody, go sign up for the workshop. We're going to have such a good time. Go to celebrateyourlife.com. There's also, you might see a link somewhere that's also being posted in the comments. We're just going to have a wonderful, beautiful, fun, easy, gentle time and saying yes to abundance.
Bye-bye, everyone. Lots of love.